my barbecue family doing? I'm here in my kitchen, and I'm excited to do this because we're gonna do a little video on how to smoke barbecue ribs. I've gotten a lot of requests to do a demonstration on how to make good barbecue, and I figure, hey, we talk about trucking, let's talk about barbecue. Trucking and barbecue, in my opinion, go hand in hand. Truckers like to eat barbecue. Truckers like to make barbecue. Barbecue places like truckers to come in. So I think it's a perfect marriage. So let's just get started. We're not going to take long. It's not going to be a long video because it's not really that difficult. It's a really simple process and simple steps that go along with it. So if you got a pen and paper, get your pen and paper. Let's take some notes. And when you get the chance, go home, fire up your grill, and implement these steps. Now, one thing I will say is this. This is the way I do it. And it may not be the way everybody else does it, but this is an effective way of doing it. I would say that a lot of the pitmasters around the country do it this way or something similar. So we're not going to have a debate or argument over it. Oh, I do it this way, or I do the 3-2-1, or whatever method you may use. This right here is the way I do it, and I get great results on it. So hey, if you like it, try it. If not, don't. You know what I mean? So it's all good. But let's just get started. Alrighty. The first step to good barbecue is you want to have a good piece of meat. Okay, so you look at the meat. One of the things you want to have is a lot of marbling. Marbling is flavor. That's where the flavor is. So what is marbling? The fat and the white meat here. That's the fat. You want to look at a rib, and when you select it, you want to look at something that is, this isn't the best, but this is good. This will do it. Good marbling, a lot of flavor. When you cook this, that marbling is going to render, and it's going to create flavor. It's going to be a juicy rib, and you're going to like it. The results are going to be good. So that's the first step, in my opinion, is finding a good rib to even begin with. You want a good canvas. You want a good piece of paper. So this good canvas is going to get the job done. So since we're going to make a St. Louis style rib, we're going to cut the brisket bone or the tip off of the rib. So you're going to need a sharp knife. So I've sharpened this knife. It should be good to go. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut this flap on the bottom. It's a little flap on the bottom, but we're going to cut that off because during the cooking process, that is going to burn. We're going to cut it off, and we would use this as what we call pitmaster's privilege. So while you're cooking, something you can snack on later on. So we're going to cut right along this line. If you can see that, it's a little imaginary line. We're going to cut right along that line, and we're going to cut that tip off. Alrighty. So a good way of doing that is when you take it. I don't know if you can see this. See me folding it over? Okay. I don't know if you can see that well, but there's a bone right there. We're just going to fold it over, find where that line is. And I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut right alongside it. Right after I cut this little flap off, again, you want to have a nice sharp knife. Because if you don't, you're going to be fighting this thing all night long. So, nice little sharp piece. Again, this is pitmaster's privilege. When you get it on the smoker, this is something you can snack on during the cook. So I'm going to go ahead and find that piece, and I'm going to cut this, and we're going to turn this into a St. Louis style, or St. Louis cut, as we like to call it. Why is St. Louis? I don't know. Nice sharp knife, goes right through the gristle there, and you're good to go. So this is the tip that I cut off. These right here, this is gold. This is what we call a rib tip. So when we cut this, we cook this, chop this thing up by little pieces like this, little brisket pieces. These are what we call rib tip. This is gold right here. You don't want to throw this away. Some people in the country throw it away. Not around here. This is gold. Rib tips. All right, so I'm gonna just slap that in there for later. But this is what your St. Louis cut. Alrighty, so St. Louis cut right there, right along the side. perfect. All you have is bone, the bones right here. And then we're going to, you know, this little pieces right here. There's some edges. We're going to cut that off because that's going to burn during the cook. So we're actually going to kind of trim that up right at the end. Okay. And we call this squaring off the ribs. So this is more Pitmaster's privilege. More Pitmaster's privilege. You know, you gotta have a snack when you're cooking. So now we squared it off, okay? Nice squared off. All right, almost competition style. Alrighty, so the meat is squared off really nice. The last part of this process before we begin the seasoning process is trimming, is getting the what we call the skin off the back. Some people keep it, some people don't. It's really not I don't know. I've had ribs where it's on there. I've had ribs where it's not on there. A lot of commercial ribs that you go to, commercial locations, this skin would be on the rear, would be on the back. A lot of people feel that it will stop the smoking process. The smoke won't be able to penetrate this. That's possibly true. But there are some cases where I've had ribs where this has been on there, that marbling or that skin on the bottom has been on there, and I've had the smoke. The smoke flavor was good. So that's a myth, that's a debate constantly. I'm superstitious, so I take it off. So that's my son in the background there making. We went to medieval times today, so he's pretty hyped up. So I'm gonna take it off. So I'm gonna take a butter knife and a paper towel. Okay, I'm gonna get the knife right underneath the skin. Okay, and I know this production is not great because of where I have my camera. A one-man operation here. It's all right. I'm gonna get that knife underneath and kind of lift it up. Kind of lift it up a little bit. And I'm gonna take my paper towel because it's slippery. And I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to rip it off. And it pulls right off. Okay. Most times you're not going to be able to get it off the first time. Just go back and grab a little more with the paper towel and rip it off. Real simple. And it's done. It's done. That skin is gone. Now you got nothing but meat down there, and you have a surface to get seasoning. Get your rub on. So you're going to be able to get rub and flavor all the way through on both sides. Flavor on this side and flavor on this side. We're almost done with the prepping process. It's not really long at all. Not really long at all. We're almost done with the prepping process. So now the fun part. Now we get the opportunity to season the food. So one thing I do is what we call a binder. Before I go to that part, you just want to look at it and make sure if there's any type of fat you want to go on. Now again, this was a really, really beautiful piece of meat. But sometimes you have a little fat on the ends. Okay, so you can see it's a little fat on the ends. You know, if you want to get it off, just take your knife, nice sharp knife, shear it off of there. That's all. Real simple. Get it off. This right here is a really good. I mean, you can always find something to cut off, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary at all. This is a really, really good, pretty piece of meat. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to taste like once we get the cooking process of it done, the smoking process. So, you know, this is going to be a multiple part video, you know, because we want to let it sit overnight, which is not required. You don't have to let your meat marinate overnight. You don't. You can season it, go out and start your fire. By the time you come out with your fire started, it's ready to go. It's ready to go. So that is not necessary. We're just going to do it tonight because it's 11:30 at night. I'm not cooking it tonight. I'm going to cook it in the morning. So that's all right. But we're going to use what we call a binder, and that's really so the rub can adhere to the meat. All right. So there's multiple things you can do. You can use olive oil. Okay, real simple. Or you can use mustard. It's not going to put a flavor or anything distinct on your meat. It's just really so the rub can stick to the meat. That's all. That's all. So we're going to use mustard. We're going to use mustard. I'm going to take a spoon of mustard, slap it on there, and I am going to Smear the mustard onto the meat. Okay, that's it. That's it. A little coating on it. A little coating on it so it will rub and the rub will stick to the meat. Okay. Now we're going to use our rub. Beautiful rub, tasty. It's got a little heat in it. It's got a little sweet in it. It's got a little savory in it. Paprika for coloring. Brown sugar, a little cumin, cayenne. This is a great rub to put good flavor on your meat. Choose your rub. You go to Sam's Club, they have some great rubs there. Weber makes a good rub. Famous Dave's has a good rub. One of my favorite rubs is Kill a Hog or D Barbecue Rub. Malcolm out of Mississippi, Memphis area. They make a fantastic rub that I love. It's a competition style rub, but it puts great flavor on the meat. Look that up, Killer Hogs. You can find them on YouTube. You can Google them. They have a great rub, and I buy their rub all the time. It is a great rub. It's one of my favorites. So we're going to go ahead and get this rub onto the meat. You want to coat it. You want to coat it liberally. So as you're doing it, you want to just take it, and you want to nice and sideways, a little side wiggle, and just basically painting the meat on there. That's all. All right, and so in doing so, just like I said, you just want to basically take it, and you want to nice side to side. You really want to just paint the rub onto the meat. That's it. Not a whole lot, but enough to cover the meat from side to side, completely covered. You want to see nothing but rub on the meat. You want to get all areas covered. You want to get for flavor on every bite. You don't want to miss a bite. You want all flavor on the rub, okay? And one of the things that I do, we call it a rub, right? Well, I'm not going to rub it in. I'm actually going to pat it in. Just pat the meat in. Just pat the rub into the meat. Make sure it's stuck into it. Okay, and then we're going to flip it over. And we're going to do the same thing. Barbecue is simple. Barbecue is rustic. That's what I love about it. But it's a simple process. You do the same thing over and over. It's kind of monotonous, but it gives up great results. Your meat will taste good, and people will be coming to you as the go-to man or woman for their barbecue. People will want your barbecue as opposed to the local restaurant in the area if you do it this way. This is just the rubbing process of it. You do this, man, people are going to be knocking your door down to get barbecue. Trust me, I know. I experience it. It's unbelievable. But it's humbling. So again, I'm just finishing it up. Rubbing the barbecue rub onto the meat. Nice coating. Nice coating. Okay. Front to back. Get the sides of the meat too. Every bite will have flavor. Every bite will have flavor. Every bite will have an experience, a true experience of barbecue. And that's what it's about. You want to have every bite to have that experience of, wow, this is good barbecue. So that is done. It is covered. I'll show you a little lasting picture of it. Your meat is rubbed. It is covered. And shortly it will be ready to go on the smoker. A lot of times I like to let it sit and let the meat sweat. Let the rub sweat, and you'll see the sweatingness of it. You'll see the meat or the rub get wet, and it kind of just melts into the meat. That is kind of a marinating process, and it doesn't take long. It takes 30 minutes in some cases. Sometimes you put it in the refrigerator, let it cool. Sometimes you just leave it out for about 30 minutes, and then it'll be ready to go on the rub. Because I'm going to be rubbing a lot of ribs, like I actually got an order tomorrow of about 15 ribs. So I'm going to, got about 14 more to go, get these all prepped, and then tomorrow morning we're going to fire up the smoker, and we're going to get these babies on the smoker and start the cooking process of them, and we'll continue that part tomorrow, which will be, just push of the button, of course, and then we'll go through the actual smoking process of it, discussing how to keep the smoker up to temp, how to feed it with wood, and how to get that good fire and that good smoke to marinate and kiss the meat and then give you a good barbecue at the end. So stay tuned and we'll get down to putting these babies on. Good morning. It's a fine Sunday morning here in Indiana. And we're going to go to the next step when making great barbecue. Now, one of the main things that I kind of focus on is what you're putting on the meat. One is the rub or the seasoning, but two is also the type of smoke you're putting on it. And one of the most important parts that I focus on is building the fire. So we're going to start off by creating the fire. Now, you probably look at some of the certain things that you possibly do. In doing so, when you're using a large smoker, is you want to make a bed of coal. So I actually use charcoal to start off with. So I'm going to just basically pour some Kingsford into my charcoal chimney, light it up. Takes about maybe 15-20 minutes to get it all white and hot and cold, hot fire type of heat. Dump it into my smoker, and I'm going to put some wood on top of that bed of coal, and then that wood is going to start to burn down and create that nice smoke that you want to put on your meat. So stand by and we're going to get this fire started. Now, one thing you'll never see me use is lighter fluid. So what I actually use are these cubes, and Weber makes them. They're called lighter cubes, and you don't want to use that lighter fluid because that kind of sometimes puts that taste on your food. Everything counts. Everything you're layering on your meat matters, all the way down to lighter fluid. So I use these cubes to start my fire. Real simple. I'll light it with my little flame torch, put it underneath my chimney, and watch the fire go. And voila, it's just that simple. Now we'll just wait for this coals to kind of get hot, and we'll go to the next process. So now we have our coals. They are white hot. They're ready to go. I'm gonna dump these into my cook chamber, which is my firebox, which is where I'm gonna keep all the heat. Let me move this back so you can see it. There you go. There's the firebox. And we're going to dump our coals in there. Now I have these fire resistant, heat resistant gloves. Goes up to about 500, 600 degrees. You want to have some of these when you're dealing with a firebox because it gets pretty hot. We're talking maybe 12 to 1600 degrees. So you want to have some gloves just to protect yourself. And now, this is where the magic happens. Get to put the wood on the fire. So I'm using oak. Oak is it's a great wood. It's a hardwood. It puts great flavor. Not an overpowering smoke, but a nice subtle smoke. Good flavor. I recommend it. I also use hickory. I use cherry. Cherry puts good color on the meat. But I'm using oak today because we use what's available to us. So right now, I'm able to get my hands on oak. I'm using some oak. So let's put it in the fire. I'll start off with about 3 logs in the beginning, just to get it to temperature. What I'm going to be cooking today, I'm going to be cooking my my ribs at around 275 degrees in the smoker, and that is, we call it hot and fast. This cook time shouldn't be no more than 3.5 to 4 hours, depending on the thickness of the rib. But we should be able to get this done in about 4 hours, start to finish, and we'll be ready to roll. So as you can see, we're starting to get smoke, we're starting to get some flames, and the whole idea is to get this fire to smoke, but not smoke like you're seeing it now, to smoke a clear blue smoke or a really thin clear smoke. You don't want to have that thick smoke like you're seeing right now on your food, because that's going to put a nasty taste, a real bitter taste on your meat. You want to get this thing burn out, get it to coal, where you, just like your charcoal, is going to turn into a look similar to your charcoal. And then we're going to close it up. Once this thing gets going, close it up, get this thing up to temperature, and we're going to put this meat on. Stand by. While we're getting our fire up to temperature, one of the most important things I like to know or share with you guys is, it's like in trucking, you gotta have your coffee. Just thought I had put a little PSA in there. Okay, I kind of wanted to show you guys what your smoke should look like when you are cooking your meat or smoking your meat. And I'm going to turn my camera to it so you can see it, because this is what it should look like. You should actually not even see the smoke coming out of it. That's what you want right there. A clear haze or a clear mist, clear smoke there. That's what you want. That's what you want when you're cooking your whatever you're smoking. Even if you're smoking cereal, you want to have it just like that. So we're still waiting for the fire, the temperature to get up to where we want it to be. But I just wanted to show you that the fire is where you want it. It's a clear smoke. But shortly here, we'll be putting the meat in here shortly. We're about 200 degrees internal in the chamber, in the cook chamber. Once we get around 275, maybe a little bit more, I'll crank it down by closing my stack down a little bit, closing my damper, and that's how I control my fire. I pretty much get my damper to about 1/4 open, then I control my temperature right at the stack, right here, and I'll open and close it depending on how hot I want it to be. And that's how you control your temperature. Just give you a little nugget there. The same thing happens on your Weber grill. If you're using a Weber grill, you cook that indirectly. Put the meat away from the fire, put the stack on top of the meat, and put your wood and fire to the other opposite side of the meat. And that smoke will come from your wood chunks that you will put on top of your charcoal, and that meat, the smoke will travel over the meat and out the stack. And the way you control it is you control it with your dampers. The more the wider is open, the more oxygen the fires get, the hotter it'll be. The more you have it closed, the less oxygen it has, the less heat you'll get. But you want to make sure you're not starving the fire. So that's the little fine line there. Starve the fire, you create a lot of nasty smoke. If the fire has enough oxygen, it will breathe right. You get a clear smoke, but then you want to control the heat. So it's a skill that you'll get over time. So I just wanted to share that little nugget with you. All right, the moment of truth is here. We're about to put these ribs into this cook chamber. Last night we prepped them. Now again, you do not have to let these marinate overnight. It helps, trust me, but it's not required. But we did it last night just to kind of save time. We're about to put them in the chamber and get the cooking process started. Let's do it. Here's the ribs we prepped last night. They're ready to go. We're going to put them in here and we're going to get them started. Now, mind you, I have about 18 ribs to cook today, so we're going to be loading these up. It's going to take a little bit. one thing I always say when you cook them, the way you lay them on the grate is the way you're going to cook. So one little thing that I always do, I kind of push them together to kind of bunch them a little bit. I think, in my opinion, it kind of allows the juices to kind of stay in, cooks a little plump, as opposed to them being stretched out like that. Just a little superstition that I have. I think a lot of pitmasters have the same superstition, to be honest with you. Beautiful ribs. Now I have some more ribs that are located in my back chamber. These are the last ones that we had, and we're loaded up, ready to go. We're gonna close it up, slide the rack back in, and let the process begin. Now, one thing we're gonna do while everything is cooking is that we're going to so one thing we're going to do while we're doing this is we're going to throw in a piece of wood about every hour, 1 to 2 logs every hour, to keep the temperature consistent and to keep the smoking going. Okay. We're also, after an hour, or about 2 hours, I'm going to start spritzing it. Why after 2 hours? I want to let the rub set. I don't want to spray it with a liquid and spray the rub off. So about 2 hours, the rub should set pretty good, and I'm gonna start spritzing it with a combination of a apple cider vinegar, apple juice, or just some water with some apple cider vinegar. But I'm gonna make it up, shake it, put it in my little spray bottle, and I'm gonna spritz them every hour after the second hour. And probably as we get closer to cook, I'll probably spritz them like every 15 minutes. But the idea is you want to keep this chamber closed as often as possible. If you're looking, is the term, you're not cooking. If you're looking, you're not cooking. If you're taking notes, write that down. If you're looking at it, that means you got it open. That means you're letting the heat out and you're not cooking. So always keep the chamber closed as much as possible. After 2 hours, I'm gonna spritz. Every hour, spritz. This thing should be done. Toast it again, I may spritz a little more just to make sure it's moist. And we're gonna be done. So stand by. This is the best part of the cooking process. You get to kind of sit down and relax. Talk to you soon. All right, we are just about done. The ribs are at an internal temperature of about 203 degrees, which is where I want it to be. That assures you that they're tender. They kind of tug off the bone and not fall off the bone. I don't like for them to fall. I like them to tug off the bone. That's the competition style. That's how ribs should be done. So what we're doing right now is we are putting some barbecue sauce on them, just basically basting it at the last moment so we can get this back in the smoker for about 20 minutes, 10 minutes or so, just so they can tack, the barbecue sauce can tack onto the ribs. And that's what I'm gonna do with all of them. I got a couple baby backs up there. I'm gonna put some barbecue sauce on them, just so that sauce can tack up to them. And then we're gonna be done. This whole process, man, it actually took about exactly 4 hours. They're looking beautiful. Look at those. Look at that there, man. These are beautiful ribs. This is before the sauce. Look at that color. This is what you want. The color. They're going to be tender. If you lift them up right now, they're basically folded in half. That's what you want right there, buddy. So we're going to get these things sauced up, and then we're going to take them up inside, and then we're going to cut them and let you see what it looks like, the final product, and then you'll see me taste them. All right, guys, stand by. Okay, family, so we have the final product here. This is the front of the rib. Beautiful. This is the back. What I like to do is, when I get ready to cut, I turn them over on the back side so I can see the bones. Because sometimes these bones are kind of curved. You know. So when I get it ready, lay it down on the front side, and then I will just go right along the bone, and I will cut. So we're going to cut out this middle bone so we can just see what it looks like. And this is what you want right here. Look at that. Beautifulness. Got a smoke ring on the top there. That's what you want. That's the badge of honor. That lets you know that that smoke got in there. And a lot of people say, oh, it's pink, it's not done. But no, that is what you call a smoke ring. And let's see the final product. Let's see what it does. All right, you want to have a bite through. So let's see what we got. Clean bite, ladies and gentlemen. Clean bite. Oh, it's beautiful. That's what you want. You want it to tug off the bone, but you want it to tug off clean. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you smoke ribs. Simple as that. Simple steps. You follow that. Excuse the sauce in my mouth. And you can make yourself some great barbecue in your backyard. You can become the pitmaster in your neighborhood. So with that being said, you guys stay safe. Enjoy barbecue. Try it out. You got any questions, comment below. I'll be, you know me, I'll answer. And subscribe, man, and like this video. I know it wasn't the greatest put together video. Your production wise wasn't the greatest, but I just wanted to just really get out the nuts and bolts of how to smoke barbecue ribs. So with that being said, man, you guys be safe. I see you guys on the road. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy barbecue. We'll talk soon.